Live from the chicken wing capital of the world, Buffalo, New York. You're listening to the Childcare Bridge podcast, your source for the best tips, tools, and tactics on how to market and grow your childcare center, ensuring total domination. Total domination. This is the Childcare Bridge, and this is your host, Michael Tasner.
Do childcare centers need marketing? And if I were to add one more word, I would add the word invest. Do childcare centers need to invest in marketing? Now, I hope you know that the very simple answer is going to be yes. And I wanted to unpack a couple things today because as the fall enrollment season is kind of around the corner the next couple of months, while we're in a little bit of that summer lull in terms of cash flow and students and enrollments, that fall enrollment season is literally right around the corner. And I've been doing a lot of listening to sales conversations that our team is having. And I listened to one this week that it blew me away a little bit because it's something that I have been hearing for quite a while, but I kind of thought that it went away, if that makes sense. So the call basically went like this. Michael, we recently acquired a couple of locations. So they bought an existing childcare business, and they said enrollments aren't where they want them to be. We're not making any money because we also have a big loan on top, and we didn't think we were going to have to do any marketing. That last line is what blew me away in this particular case, because traditionally people that are going in and buying childcare businesses, they have an investor mindset. They have that mindset that like you're going to throw gas on the fire to get things moving, and you know that it takes money to make money. And I started listening to some of the other calls this week, and I was shocked with how many childcare center owners are pushing back on investing any money in marketing. And I'll even talk about some of the dollar figures just so that we're on the same page and you're not thinking one thing and I'm actually meaning something different. So historically, for a one-off childcare location, the investment with our agency is about $1,500 a month. Now that $1,500 a month isn't just us putting up Facebook ads. It's every single thing in the kitchen sink, a brand new website, all the branding, the maintenance of the website, a custom CRM platform for all the lead management, all the marketing automation, Facebook marketing, Google marketing, search engine optimization, social media, and one of our favorite solutions is actually the turning leads into tours. So we're literally calling every lead that comes in and turning them into a tour. So when you start to look at it from an investment standpoint, $1,500 a month is a small investment. And I've been getting and hearing pushback after, like, why should we have to do marketing? And I'm going to give you a very simple answer. If you do not do marketing, your childcare center empire, whether it's one location, whether it's 50 locations, whether you own a franchise, multiple franchise, it doesn't matter. You will not be able to maintain your profitability and grow over the next couple of years. It's just not going to happen. And so, well, Michael, what has changed? And or what is changing? Isn't this that old adage of if you build it and they will come? There's no longer in most locations a shortage of childcare centers. Now, 5-10 years ago when we were in the industry, there used to be a lot more of a childcare shortage in terms of there might be 3 centers in like this 10-mile radius, and you had to kind of beg for a spot, and you had to wow the director, like you had to sell them. as to why you should be able to get to enroll. Those days have long been over. Now, there's a couple of reasons. Number one, private equity has been buying up and or building centers unlike anything that I've seen before. And they are quietly doing it because this historically isn't an industry that you think like Wall Street or private equity money is going to come in. But what they're doing is they're looking for either centers that have multiple locations and want to grow faster, and they'll come in and say, hey, you've got 5 locations. How about, would you like to have over the next 5 years, we partner together 50 locations? Or they're coming in and buying distressed centers because they know that if the center owner owns the real estate, for example, that they've got a secure asset, at least they have some real estate, and they're just buying up as if they're more real estate transactions. And this has been quietly happening the last couple of years, and it's been escalating at a much farther pace, much faster pace. So if you know that private equity is coming in, well, what does that mean for me? If you own a one location center, like what does that mean that I have to then go and do more marketing? Well, they treat everything as an investment. And they know that it takes money to make money. They know that marketing is the fuel to drive a business. So if we go back all the way to the beginning of that first question of, do I need to do marketing? Marketing literally should be the lifeblood that drives everything else. It should be like the engine in your car. It literally is like, without it, the car doesn't work. If you're now competing against private equity, now the other layer you're going to start competing against is the franchisors. They're opening up aggressively more and more locations. Every single day, there's a new location opening up. Whether it's the biggest of box franchises or the 5 location center that they're like, hey, I want to franchise my model. I've got a unique model. I'm a trilingual preschool, for example, and I want to franchise that. Now all of a sudden, they're starting to move aggressively. And there's a lot of these micro franchisors that have 25, 50, even upwards of 100 locations. So it's not that like everything is staying status quo. If you know that there's more and more competition, and the interesting thing with this one call that I listened to where they acquired the locations, the new owner then told me that there literally is another center that's opening up 1 block from their location. 1 block. Like it's opening up in the next like month or so. So they're worried about investing in marketing because they're not making any money. However, you've got another location that's opening up 1 block away, and you're trying to figure out what to do. The only answer is marketing. I've been doing a weekly podcast week after week after week and talking about all the different aspects of owning and growing a childcare business. But if you don't understand this one core concept, you are never going to have a 7 or 8 figure center that will stand the test of time. Now, you might be able to prove me wrong and say, Michael, I've built an 8-figure center and I've never invested in marketing. The only times that I have ever seen that is if you're in this area where you have kind of free reign. There's very, very few centers for whatever reason. Maybe there's certain regulation or licensing has been tough to get in that particular area. I've seen some people that they like to focus on the most remote areas to where like you're the only game in town for 30 miles. But if you look at the franchise model and you know that franchises, and maybe you don't know this, franchises tend to have anywhere between an 80 and 90% or higher success rate. And that's across like all franchises. If you look at the average business across all businesses, not just childcare, 50+%, and upwards of 90% over 10 years are going to be gone out of business. Like the failure rate is ridiculously high. Certain industries are higher than others. We're not going to talk about every one of those industries, like restaurants, for example. 50% of restaurants fail in 1 year. Hence why I would never open a restaurant. But if you know that franchises ultimately have a better success rate than all the other businesses, You start to look and unpack their models, and there's two different things that they do better than other people. Number one, they have a proven step-by-step framework, as in their processes are documented, they have standard operating procedures, there's checklists, there's certain vendors, they run like a well-oiled machine. That's historically why you like to buy into a franchise. But number two, they are marketing machines. It's built into their contracts that one of two things or both need to happen. Number one, you need to invest X percentage of your revenue in marketing. You're signing the dotted line on that. Number two, that you're giving a percentage back to corporate for them to do your marketing. I've seen many instances where the minimum budget is $5,000 a month. So if you start to think about that, well, the two things they have that I might not have is this perfect playbook to run my center business, my centers, and a requirement to invest in marketing. Why do you think they're knocking it out of the park in most cases? The only way you're going to grow is through marketing. I shouldn't have to convince anyone as to why you should be investing, $1,000 a month, for example. It literally should end up in your mind being pennies. The only way that you're going to start to get that is if your mindset starts to shift. And it's not just shifting to know that marketing is an investment, but it's to understand this concept that I've unpacked of looking at the lifetime value of an enrollment. And that is where I continue to see issue after issue after issue. So we'll talk and we'll say, this is how we're going to drive you all these enrollments. Here's the investment. $1,500 a month for this location. This other one, you get a discount. The third location, we're going to give you a discount. And you show it in black and white. And what most center owners are starting to do is they're going to look at their current state of affairs. And if you're losing money, you're already in a terrible mindset, because anything above on top is going to be coming out of pocket or coming from savings or somewhere on a credit card. Or number two, they look at, and I'll just round the numbers. Let's say $3,000 in marketing and then some ad spend. Let's say it's $5,000 across 3 locations. And I'd say, what if we only get 5 enrollments and our tuition's $300 a week? That doesn't pay for it. But you have to look at the lifetime value of an enrollment. You have to understand that that enrollment is going to pay you month after month after month after month. And if you know your numbers, that conversation with someone that does marketing, that conversation around you're looking at hiring an agency or how much should you invest in marketing, you're able to back into all those numbers because you know that each family typically stays for 2 years. So that's not just worth $1,200 a month to you. That's going to be worth over $20,000 over 2 years. So what's it to you if you add 5 enrollments and you invest $5,000? So that math wasn't great because our tuition's $1,200, and then with expenses, we really didn't make any money. Do you make money at month 2 or month 3? Where's that break even? And as long as you're providing good value and good service at your centers, the money's going to come. But you have to reframe to not be looking at this as an added expense. You can't be looking at this as, do I have to do this? You have to understand that this is how you grow. You want to grow, you want to build a timeless business that outlasts you, you do it through marketing. Until you understand that premise, you are never going to get out of your head. You're going to continue to be in this space where you're just struggling and just trying to box your way out of it. Now, I would be shocked if we hear from the centers that they purchased the 2 locations because we called them out. We said, how do you expect to grow? How do you magically think that all these enrollments are just going to kind of fall out of trees? You do it through marketing. So what I need you to start to think about is to really be looking at your calendar, sizing up your calendar, and figuring out where the time that you are investing is going, and to sort out how much of that is actually in working with an agency, is preparing new content, thinking about marketing, reviewing data, the whole working on the business, not in it. And if you tell me it's 0, you have a big problem. And you're going to be listening to this podcast in 3 months or 6 months and struggling because you're not hitting your numbers. If you're leaving all this money on the table and not hitting those profitable ratios, it's because you didn't invest your time and money in marketing. So yes, the simple answer to the question is you need marketing. You need a rock star website. You need a great social media presence. You need warm, inviting content. You need to have a place that you can manage all of your leads and opportunities. You need a system to communicate with your current families that looks really professional and nice. You need to have email addresses that aren't at gmail.com. You need to have a phone system that has different ways to get a hold of teachers and directors. You need to have a great Google business profile presence so that you can show up and have those reviews. You need to be posting active content, not on social media, in addition to blog posts, talking about your craft and why you're different and how you're different, and featuring your team, putting out helpful, authentic content. All this stuff has to happen if you want to grow. Otherwise, you're a center that has a name outside and you're going after that game of hope marketing, hoping that the families that you're serving, that you are giving everything you can, that they end up referring all these people. Will you get leads and opportunities? Yes, but I don't want you to take anything to chance. All this comes down to math, knowing your numbers, knowing how many tours you're doing, how many leads you need, understanding that lifetime value of an enrollment, and then literally it's game over. But I need you to think about all this. I need you to replay this. Think about where your mindset is at. But I can tell you that almost every center owner comes into a call with the wrong mindset. If they're thinking about how much does this cost, and that's the only thing that they want to know, not how will it help me, not how many leads are we going to be able to get, or how many tours, but geez, that's just, I don't have it in the budget. You're going to be in for a wild ride the next couple of years. And then when you add on AI to where centers that barely knew how to do any marketing, they start to leverage AI and pump out more content and videos, and you're like, well, geez, now all of a sudden you're way behind, not even just months behind, but years behind. I want you to have that business that outlasts you. That's what I want for you. And it starts with a focus of time and money on marketing. I know this was some tough love, but I'm realizing that I need to push harder to get these ideas, these thoughts, these mindsets through to you so that you actually can grow, that you can actually build that business that you've dreamed of, that you're envisioning, not lying in bed staring at the ceiling, wondering how you're going to make payroll. I've got your back. Continue to stick with me. I will help you move in that right direction and get that center that you want. Michael Tasner signing off. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night. I'll see you next week.